I remember that evening like it was frozen in time. The kind of moment that divides your life into before and after. The sun had already set, and the house was settling into its usual quiet rhythm. I was in the kitchen, washing the last of the dinner plates, when I heard her footsteps behind me. She moved so quietly. Always so quiet. My daughter-in-law had this way of existing in our home, like she was afraid to take up too much space. I had noticed it before, but never really understood why. Not until that night. I turned around, and she was standing there in the doorway. Her face was pale. Her eyes looked like they were carrying a weight I could not see. She was holding her purse tight against her chest, like it was the only thing keeping her together. "Are you leaving somewhere?" I asked her. My voice was casual. I thought maybe she was just going out for a walk, or to meet a friend. But she did not answer right away. She just stood there staring at me, with an expression I had never seen on her face before. Then she stepped closer. So close I could see her hands trembling. She leaned in, and her voice came out barely louder than a breath. "Don't trust him." 3 words. That is all she said. 3 words that landed in my chest like stones. Before I could even process what she meant, she turned and walked toward the front door. I followed her into the hallway, my heart suddenly pounding in a way it had not in years. "Wait," I called after her. "What are you talking about? Who? What do you mean?" But she did not stop. She did not even look back. She opened the door, stepped out into the night, and closed it softly behind her. I stood there in the empty hallway staring at that door like it might give me answers. The silence that followed felt heavier than any argument I had ever been part of. I wanted to run after her. I wanted to grab her by the shoulders and demand she explain herself. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the look in her eyes. Maybe it was the way her voice cracked when she said those words. Or maybe it was because deep down in a place I did not want to admit, I already knew something was wrong. I walked back into the kitchen and sat down at the table. My hands were shaking. I tried to make sense of what just happened, but my mind kept spinning in circles. Don't trust him. Who was she talking about? My son. Her husband. The man I raised. The man I thought I knew better than anyone in this world. No, it could not be. There had to be some misunderstanding. Maybe she was upset about something small. Maybe they had an argument, and she was being dramatic. I told myself that over and over, trying to calm the storm building inside me. But the truth is I could not convince myself. Because somewhere deep in my gut I felt it. That sinking feeling that tells you something is very, very wrong. I sat there alone in that kitchen for what felt like hours. The clock on the wall ticked loudly in the silence. Every minute that passed made the weight in my chest grow heavier. I kept replaying her words in my mind. The way she looked at me. The fear in her voice. It was not anger. It was not spite. It was warning. It was desperation. It was someone trying to protect me from something she could not say out loud. When my son came home later that night, I was still sitting at that table. He walked in with his usual smile. Casual. Relaxed. He asked me where his wife was, and I told him she went out. He did not seem worried. He just nodded, grabbed a glass of water, and went upstairs to his room. I watched him walk away, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I was looking at a stranger. This man who I had held as a baby, who I had raised with every ounce of love I had, who I had trusted completely without question. Suddenly, I was not sure I knew him at all. That night I could not sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every interaction I had seen between them. Every glance, every silence, every moment that seemed just slightly off, but I had brushed away as nothing. Now those moments were all I could think about. They were adding up into a picture I did not want to see. Don't trust him. Her voice echoed in my mind like a ghost. And the more I tried to ignore it, the louder it became. By the time the sun started to rise, I had made a decision. I did not know what was happening yet. I did not know what she was trying to warn me about. But I knew one thing for certain. I was going to find out. Because if my daughter-in-law felt the need to whisper those words to me before disappearing into the night, then something in this house was very, very wrong. And I could not look away anymore. From the outside, we must have looked perfect. The kind of family people admire from a distance. My son had a good job, a beautiful wife, a nice home. We had dinners together every Sunday. We smiled in photos. We went to family gatherings, and everyone always said how lucky we were. How blessed. But I have learned that the families that look the most perfect are often the ones hiding the deepest cracks. It started small. Little things I did not think much of at the time. The way my daughter-in-law would go quiet whenever my son entered the room. The way she would glance at him before answering even the simplest questions. Like she was checking for permission. Checking to see if her answer was allowed. I told myself it was respect. That she was just being considerate. That maybe that was how things were in her family growing up. But looking back, now I see it for what it really was. Fear. She was afraid. And I was too blind to see it. When they first got married, I was so happy. She seemed like a sweet girl. Quiet, yes, but kind. She always helped with the dishes. She never complained. She fit into our family so easily that I thought it was a blessing. I thought we were lucky to have her. But now I wonder if she was just trying to survive. Trying to be invisible, so she would not cause any problems. So she would not make him angry. I remember one afternoon a few months after they moved in together. I had stopped by their place to drop off some food I had cooked. I knocked on the door, and when she opened it, I could see she had been crying. Her eyes were red and puffy. She tried to smile and act like everything was fine, but I could see right through it. I asked her what was wrong, and she said it was nothing. Just a headache. I did not push. I should have. I should have sat down with her right then and there and asked her to tell me the truth. But I did not. I just handed her the food, told her to rest, and left. I convinced myself it was not my business. That every couple has their struggles. That I should not interfere. God, I wish I had interfered. There were other moments too. Times when my son would make a comment at the dinner table. Something that seemed harmless on the surface, but had a sharp edge underneath. He would joke about her cooking, about the way she dressed, about how she spent her time. And she would laugh along with him, but the laugh never reached her eyes. It was a reflex, a survival mechanism, a way to deflect and keep the peace. I told myself he was just teasing, that it was normal, that all husbands and wives have their little jabs at each other. But the truth is I felt uncomfortable every time it happened. I felt something twist in my stomach. I just did not want to name it, because naming it would mean admitting that something was wrong. And admitting that would mean I had to do something about it. And I was not ready for that. So I stayed silent. I smiled. I pretended everything was fine. Just like she did. My son had always been a strong personality. Even as a child, he had this intensity about him. He knew what he wanted, and he made sure he got it. I thought that was a good thing. I thought it meant he would be successful. That he would take care of his family. That he would be a provider. And he was. He did provide. He made sure they had everything they needed. A roof over their heads. Food on the table. Clothes. Comfort. But I did not realize that control can look like care. That providing can be used as a weapon. That when someone makes sure you have everything you need, they can also make sure you feel like you owe them everything in return. She rarely went out without him. I noticed that too, but I did not think it was strange at the time. I thought they just enjoyed spending time together. I thought it was romantic. But now I see it differently. She did not go out because she was not allowed to. Not in the way you would imagine. Not with shouting or locks on the door. It was quieter than that. It was the way he would ask where she was going, who she was meeting, how long she would be. It was the way he would sigh or give her a look if she mentioned wanting to see a friend. It was the tone of his voice when he said things like, "Why do you need to go out when we have everything here?" And slowly over time she stopped trying. She stopped mentioning friends. She stopped making plans. She stayed home. She stayed quiet. She disappeared into the background of her own life. I wish I had seen it sooner. I wish I had asked her the right questions. I wish I had created a space where she felt safe enough to tell me the truth. But I did not. Because I was too focused on keeping the peace. Too focused on believing that everything was fine because it looked fine. Too invested in the idea that my son could do no wrong. That is the thing about appearances. They are powerful. They can make you believe a lie even when the truth is standing right in front of you. And I believed the lie for so long that by the time I started to see the truth, I almost did not recognize it. But that night when she whispered those words to me, everything I had ignored came rushing back. Every strange moment. Every uncomfortable silence. Every time I felt something was off, but pushed it down. It all came flooding in at once, and I could not deny it anymore. She had been trying to tell me. Maybe not with words, but with every glance. Every flinch. Every moment of silence. She had been screaming without making a sound. And I had not been listening. But I was listening now. And I was not going to look away anymore. The days after she left were the longest of my life. I kept expecting her to walk back through the door. To call. To send a message. Something. But there was nothing. Just silence. And that silence was louder than any explanation could have been. My son acted like nothing was wrong. He told me she was staying with a friend for a few days. That they had a fight and she needed space. He said it so casually. So calmly. Like it was the most normal thing in the world. And maybe to him it was. Maybe this had happened before, and I just did not know about it. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to accept his explanation and move on. But I could not, because her words kept echoing in my mind. Don't trust him. She did not say don't trust us. She did not say we had a fight. She said don't trust him. And that difference mattered. So I started paying attention. Really paying attention. Not just to what was being said, but to what was not being said. Not just to what I could see, but to what was hidden beneath the surface. I noticed how often my son checked his phone. How he would angle the screen away from me when a message came in. How he would leave the room to take certain calls. I had never thought anything of it before. Everyone has private conversations. But now every action felt like a clue. Every movement felt deliberate. Controlled. I started asking questions. Small ones. Casual ones. I would ask him how she was doing. If he had heard from her. If she was okay. And every time he would give me the same kind of answer. Short. Vague. Dismissive. She is fine, Mom. She just needs time. Don't worry about it. But I was worrying about it. Because the more I asked, the more I realized he was not actually answering. He was deflecting. He was redirecting. He was telling me just enough to make me stop asking, without actually telling me anything at all. One evening I was cleaning the living room, and I found a notebook tucked between the couch cushions. It was hers. I recognized her handwriting on the cover. I hesitated before opening it. I knew it was private. I knew I should not invade her space like that. But something inside me pushed me to look. And I am glad I did. The pages were filled with her thoughts. Her feelings. Things she could not say out loud. I sat down on that couch and I read every word. And with every line my heart broke a little more. She wrote about feeling trapped. About walking on eggshells every day. About never knowing which version of him she was going to get. The loving one. The angry one. The cold one. She wrote about how he would tell her she was too sensitive. That she was overreacting. That she was imagining things. And over time she started to believe him. She started to question her own reality. Her own feelings. Her own mind. She wrote about wanting to leave, but not knowing how. About feeling like she had nowhere to go. No one to turn to. She wrote about me. About wanting to tell me, but being afraid I would not believe her. Afraid I would take his side, because he was my son. Afraid I would think she was dramatic or ungrateful, or trying to ruin the family. And the worst part is she was right to be afraid. Because I probably would have. Before that whisper. Before that moment. I probably would have defended him. I probably would have told her that every marriage has its struggles. That she just needed to communicate better. That she needed to try harder. I would have blamed her. Just like he did. But not anymore. I closed that notebook, and I sat there in the quiet, and I felt something shift inside me. Anger. Real deep burning anger. Not just at my son, but at myself. For not seeing it. For not asking. For not creating a space where she felt safe enough to come to me. For failing her when she needed someone most. I thought about all the times I had seen him speak to her in that tone. That condescending tone that made her feel small. I thought about all the times I had watched her shrink into herself, and I said nothing. I thought about all the times I had laughed along with his jokes at her expense, because I thought they were harmless. I thought they were just part of being married. I thought it was normal. But it was not normal. It was cruel. And I had enabled it by staying silent. I started noticing other things too. The way he would talk about her to other people when she was not around. The way he would roll his eyes when someone mentioned her name. The way he would dismiss her opinions or her feelings like they did not matter. Like she did not matter. And I realized this was not new. This had been happening the entire time. I had just chosen not to see it. Because seeing it would mean admitting that my son was not the man I thought he was. That he was not the man I raised him to be. And that was too painful to face. But pain is not an excuse for ignorance. And I was done pretending. One afternoon, I went to their bedroom when he was not home. I told myself I was just straightening up. But really I was looking for answers. I opened drawers. I checked closets. I looked under the bed. I felt like a detective in my own home, and I hated it. But I had to know. And then I found it. A stack of letters hidden in the back of his desk drawer. Letters from her. Letters she had written to him over the years. Letters that she probably thought he had read and treasured. But he had not. He had kept them hidden away like they meant nothing. I read them. And they were beautiful. She poured her heart out on those pages. She told him how much she loved him. How much she wanted to make him happy. How hard she was trying. How much she hoped things would get better. Each letter was filled with hope. With love. With a desperate kind of faith that maybe this time he would see her. Really see her. But he never did. Because if he had, he would not have hidden those letters away like they were garbage. He would not have treated her the way he did. He would not have made her feel like she was not enough. Like she was the problem. Like she was broken. She was not broken. She was breaking. And he was the one breaking her. I put the letters back where I found them, and I left that room feeling like I was seeing my son for the first time. And I did not like what I saw. This was not the boy I raised. This was not the man I thought he had become. This was someone else. Someone I did not recognize. Someone I did not want to recognize. But I had no choice. Because the truth was staring me in the face, and I could not look away anymore. My son was not a victim. He was not misunderstood. He was not just having a rough time. He was the problem. And his wife had been suffering in silence, because no one was listening. Because I was not listening. And now she was gone. And I had no idea where she was. No idea if she was safe. No idea if she was okay. And the only person who could tell me was the last person I could trust. Don't trust him. She was right. And I was finally starting to understand why. For days passed, and still no word from her. I tried calling her phone, but it went straight to voicemail. I thought about reaching out to her family, but I realized I did not even have their contact information. I did not know where she grew up. I did not know the names of her friends. I did not know anything about her life before she became part of ours. And that realization made me feel ashamed. How had I let that happen? How had I welcomed someone into my family and never bothered to really know her? I knew her favorite tea. I knew she liked reading in the mornings. I knew she was good at gardening. But I did not know her. Not really. Not in the ways that mattered. My son continued to act unbothered. He went to work. He came home. He ate dinner. He watched television. He moved through his days like nothing had changed. And that scared me more than anything else. Because if he truly cared about her, he would be worried. He would be calling her, searching for her, trying to fix whatever went wrong. But he was not doing any of that. He was just waiting. Like he knew she would come back eventually. Like he had done this before. I asked him again if he had heard from her, and he barely looked up from his phone. She will come back when she is ready, he said. She always does. She always does. Those 3 words confirmed what I had suspected. This was a pattern. She had left before. She had run away from whatever was happening in that house, and he had waited for her to come crawling back. And she had. Because she probably felt like she had no other choice. Because she probably believed that leaving for good was impossible. But this time felt different. This time she had whispered a warning to me. This time she had looked me in the eyes and told me not to trust him. That was not the behavior of someone planning to come back. That was the behavior of someone who had finally reached her breaking point. I spent those days in a fog. I could not eat. I could not sleep. I kept replaying every conversation I had ever had with her. Every moment I had dismissed. Every sign I had ignored. They all felt so obvious now. So clear. But at the time I had been looking through a lens that refused to see the truth. A lens shaped by my love for my son. By my need to believe he was good. By my fear of what it would mean if he was not. On the 5th day I decided I could not sit around anymore. I needed to do something. So I went to the places I thought she might be. I drove to the local library because I remembered her mentioning she liked to go there. I went to the park where she used to walk in the evenings. I even went to the grocery store, hoping I might run into her. But there was no sign of her anywhere. I felt helpless. I felt like I was searching for a ghost. And maybe I was. Maybe she had left this town entirely. Maybe she had gone somewhere far away, where no one could find her. And part of me hoped that was true, because at least then she would be safe. But another part of me needed to see her. Needed to tell her that I believed her. That I was sorry. That I should have seen what was happening, and I did not, and I would carry that guilt for the rest of my life. I needed her to know that she was not alone. Not anymore. When I got back home, that evening my son was sitting at the kitchen table. He looked up when I walked in, and there was something in his expression I had not seen before. Something that made my skin prickle. It was not worry. It was not sadness. It was annoyance. Like my concern for his wife was inconvenient to him. Like I was making a big deal out of nothing. You need to stop this, he said. His voice was calm, but there was an edge to it. She is fine. She is just being dramatic. She does this when she does not get her way. I stared at him. Really stared at him. And I felt something inside me harden. This man sitting in front of me was my son. I had raised him. I had loved him. I had given him everything. But in that moment, I did not recognize him. In that moment, he felt like a stranger. What do you mean she does this? I asked. My voice was steady, but inside I was shaking. He shrugged. She gets upset over little things, and then she disappears for a few days. It is her way of punishing me. But she always comes back. She has nowhere else to go. The way he said it. The casual cruelty in his tone. The complete lack of empathy. It made my blood run cold. He was not worried about her. He was not concerned for her safety. He was just annoyed that she had disrupted his routine. Annoyed that she had dared to leave. And what did she get upset about this time, I asked. He waved his hand dismissively. I do not even remember. Something stupid. She is too sensitive. She takes everything personally. I felt my hands curl into fists at my sides. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to shake him and demand he tell me the truth. But I knew that would not work. He would just shut down. He would deny everything. He would twist the story until I was the one who looked unreasonable. So I stayed calm. I stayed quiet. And I let him think I believed him. But I did not believe him. Not anymore. Because I had read her notebook. I had seen her letters. I had watched the way he treated her. And I knew that whatever had happened was not something stupid. It was something serious. Something that made her feel like she had no choice but to run. That night I sat in my room, and I thought about what to do next. I thought about calling the police, but I did not know if they would take me seriously. She was an adult. She had left on her own. There was no evidence of a crime. And my son would just tell them she was being dramatic. That she did this all the time. That I was overreacting. So I decided to wait. But not the way my son was waiting. I was not waiting for her to come crawling back. I was waiting for a sign. A clue. Something that would tell me where she had gone, or what she needed from me. And I was watching. I was paying attention to every little thing my son did. Every word he said. Every message he sent. Because I knew that sooner or later he would slip. He would reveal something he did not mean to. And when he did, I would be ready. Because the truth always comes out. It might take time. It might be hidden under layers of lies and manipulation and denial. But it always comes out eventually. And I was not going to stop looking until I found it. She had trusted me enough to give me that warning. And I was not going to let her down. I started watching my son the way you watch a stranger. Every movement. Every word. Every expression. I was looking for cracks in the facade. For moments when the mask slipped. And the more I watched, the more I saw. He was meticulous. That was the word that kept coming to mind. Everything he did was calculated. Controlled. He never raised his voice. He never lost his temper. At least not in front of me. He was always calm. Always composed. Always the picture of a reasonable man. And that was the problem. Because real people are not like that. Real people get messy. They get emotional. They slip up. But he never did. And that told me he was working very hard to maintain an image. Which meant there was something underneath that image he did not want anyone to see. I started going through his things when he was not home. I know that sounds terrible. I know it was an invasion of privacy. But I did not care anymore. This was not about respecting boundaries. This was about finding the truth. And if he was hiding something, I needed to know what it was. I checked his laptop. His phone was always with him, so I could not get to that. But his laptop was usually left open on the desk in his room. I felt my heart pounding as I opened it, and started clicking through folders. I did not even know what I was looking for. Just something. Anything that would explain what was happening. Most of it was work files. Boring documents and spreadsheets. But then I found a folder buried deep in his files. It was labeled with a random string of numbers. Nothing that would draw attention. I opened it, and my stomach dropped. Photos. Dozens of them. Photos of her. But not the kind you would expect. These were not happy family photos. These were surveillance photos. Pictures taken without her knowledge. Pictures of her at the store. At the park. In the car. Some of them were taken from a distance. Like he had been following her. Watching her. I felt sick. I felt like the room was spinning. Why would he have these? Why would he be taking pictures of his own wife like she was some kind of target? Unless he did not see her as his wife. Unless he saw her as something he owned. Something he needed to keep track of. Something he needed to control. I kept digging. I found messages. Deleted messages that he thought were gone, but were still stored in a backup folder. Messages to people I did not recognize. Messages where he talked about her like she was a problem to be managed. Like she was an inconvenience. He complained about her to strangers. He made cruel jokes. He shared private details of their life that should have stayed between them. And the people on the other end laughed along with him. They encouraged him. They validated his version of reality. The version where he was the victim and she was the difficult one. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw that laptop across the room. But I did not. I took pictures of everything with my phone. I documented it. Because I knew that if I confronted him without proof, he would deny it. He would say I was imagining things, that I was being paranoid, that I was turning against him for no reason. So I needed evidence. I needed something concrete that he could not explain away. I also found a tracker app on his laptop, an app that was connected to her phone. He had been tracking her location. Every day, every hour, everywhere she went he knew about it. That was how he always seemed to know where she was. That was why she could never go anywhere without him questioning her. Because he was watching. Always watching. And then I understood why she had left her phone behind. Why it went straight to voicemail when I tried to call. She knew. She knew he was tracking her. And the only way to truly disappear was to leave that phone behind. To cut off his access to her. To finally be free of his constant surveillance. She was smarter than he gave her credit for. Smarter than I gave her credit for. She had planned this. She had waited for the right moment. And then she had run. And she had made sure he could not follow. I felt a strange sense of relief knowing that. It meant she was safe. Or at least safer than she had been. It meant she had taken control of her own life. It meant she was not coming back. Not unless things changed. Not unless he changed. And I knew he was not going to change. Because people like him never do. They do not see themselves as the problem. They see everyone else as the problem. Over the next few days, I continued my quiet investigation. I listened to the way he talked on the phone. I paid attention to where he went and who he talked to. I started to piece together a picture of who he really was. And that picture was nothing like the son I thought I knew. He had always been charming. That was his gift. He could walk into a room and make everyone love him. He knew exactly what to say. Exactly how to act. He knew how to make people feel special. Important. Valued. But it was all performance. All strategy. He used his charm like a weapon. To get what he wanted. To manipulate situations in his favor. To make sure everyone saw him the way he wanted to be seen. And it had worked. For years it had worked. Everyone thought he was wonderful. Everyone thought he was the perfect son. The perfect husband. The perfect man. But perfection is not real. Perfection is a mask. And underneath that mask was someone who cared more about control than he did about love. I thought about all the ways I had contributed to this. All the times I had praised him for being strong, when really I should have been teaching him to be kind. All the times I had told him to be a leader, when really I should have been teaching him to be a partner. All the times I had excused his behavior, because he was my son, and I wanted to believe the best of him. I had failed him. But more importantly, I had failed her. Because I had raised a man who thought it was okay to treat his wife like property. Who thought it was okay to control and manipulate and surveil. Who thought it was okay to hide behind a smile while breaking someone down piece by piece. And I could not undo that. I could not go back in time and raise him differently. But I could do something now. I could stop protecting him. I could stop making excuses. I could stop pretending that everything was fine when it clearly was not. I could choose her. I could choose the truth. I could choose to be the person she needed me to be. Even if it meant losing my son. Even if it meant tearing apart the family I had spent my whole life building. Because some things are more important than keeping the peace. Some things are more important than protecting your own comfort. Some things require you to stand up and say enough. This ends now. And I was ready to do that. I was ready to stop being silent. I was ready to stop being complicit. I was ready to be the kind of person who does not look away when someone is being hurt. Even if the person doing the hurting is someone I love. Because love is not blind loyalty. Love is not protecting someone from the consequences of their actions. Love is telling the truth even when it is hard. Even when it hurts. Even when it costs you everything. And the truth was my son had become someone I could not defend. Someone I should not defend. And I was done trying. It was a Tuesday morning when I decided it was time. My son was sitting at the breakfast table scrolling through his phone like he did every morning. Casual. Unbothered. Like the world was exactly as it should be. I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat down across from him. My hands were steady, but my heart was pounding. "We need to talk," I said. He glanced up briefly, then went back to his phone. "About what?" "About your wife." He sighed. The kind of sigh that said he was tired of this conversation before it even started. "Mom, I already told you she is fine. She will come back when she is ready. Can we please stop talking about this?" "No," I said. My voice was calm. Firm. "We cannot stop talking about this. Because I know what you have been doing." That got his attention. He looked up from his phone, and his eyes narrowed slightly. "What are you talking about?" I pulled out my phone, and I placed it on the table between us. On the screen was one of the photos I had taken. A picture of the surveillance photos he had stored on his laptop. Pictures of her. Taken without her knowledge. Taken like she was someone to be watched. To be tracked. To be controlled. His face changed. Just for a second. Just long enough for me to see the flicker of panic, before he covered it with confusion. Where did you get that, he asked. His tone was sharper now. Defensive. From your laptop, I said. I went through your files. I saw everything. The photos. The tracker app. The messages. I know what you have been doing to her. I know why she left. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he laughed. It was not a real laugh. It was bitter. Cold. You went through my laptop. You invaded my privacy. Do you hear yourself right now? You are acting insane. I stayed calm. I had expected this. I had expected him to turn it around. To make me the villain. To make me feel like I was the one who had done something wrong. But I was not going to let him do that. Not this time. I did what I had to do, I said. Because my daughter-in-law came to me before she left, and she told me not to trust you. And I needed to understand why. And now I do. You have been tracking her. Watching her. Controlling her. You have been making her feel like she has no freedom. No privacy. No life of her own. And when she finally had the courage to leave, you acted like it was no big deal. Like she was just being dramatic. But she was not being dramatic. She was protecting herself. From you. His jaw tightened. He put his phone down and leaned back in his chair. You do not know what you are talking about, he said. You do not know what it is like being married to her. She is difficult. She is emotional. She does not listen. I had to keep track of her because she was always doing things without telling me. Going places. Talking to people. I had a right to know where my wife was. No, I said. You did not. You had a right to trust her. To respect her. To treat her like a partner. Not like a child. Not like someone you needed to monitor. You made her feel like a prisoner in her own life. And that is not love. That is control. He shook his head. You are twisting everything. You are making me sound like some kind of monster. I was trying to protect her. I was trying to keep our marriage together. But she made it impossible. She was always pulling away. Always hiding things. What was I supposed to do? You were supposed to let her go, I said quietly. If she was pulling away, it was because she did not feel safe. And instead of asking yourself, why instead of trying to understand what she was feeling, you just tightened your grip. You made it worse. You pushed her further away until she had no choice but to run. He stood up suddenly. His chair scraped loudly against the floor. I do not have to sit here and listen to this, he said. You are my mother. You are supposed to be on my side. But instead you are believing her over me. Someone you barely even know. I stood up too. I looked him directly in the eyes. I am not on anyone's side, I said. I am on the side of the truth. And the truth is you hurt her. You made her afraid. You made her feel like she could not even talk to me because I would not believe her. And she was right. I would not have believed her. Not before. But I believe her now. Because I have seen the evidence. I have seen who you really are when you think no one is watching. And I do not like what I see. His face flushed red. You have no idea what you are talking about, he said. His voice was rising now. You do not know what goes on in a marriage. You do not know the sacrifices I made. The things I put up with. She was lucky to have me. Lucky to have this life. And she threw it away because she could not handle a little bit of structure. Structure, I repeated. Is that what you call it? Tracking her every move. Taking pictures of her without her knowledge. Talking about her behind her back like she was some kind of burden. That is not structure. That is abuse. The word hung in the air between us. Heavy. Undeniable. He stared at me like I had slapped him. How dare you, he said quietly. How dare you call me that? I am calling it what it is, I said. And I am not going to pretend anymore. I am not going to make excuses for you. I am not going to protect you from the consequences of your actions. You hurt someone I care about. Someone who trusted you. Someone who loved you. And you broke her. And I will not stand by and act like that is okay. He grabbed his keys from the table. Fine, he said. If that is how you feel, then I am done. I am done with this conversation. I am done with you taking her side. I am done with all of it. He walked toward the door, and I called after him. Where are you going? He did not answer. He just slammed the door behind him and left. The house fell silent. I stood there in the kitchen alone, and I felt the weight of what had just happened settle over me. I had confronted my son. I had told him the truth. And he had walked away. But I did not regret it. Not for a second. Because the truth needed to be said. And silence was no longer an option. I had been silent for too long. I had looked the other way for too long. And it had cost someone their safety. Their peace. Their sense of self. I sat back down at the table, and I let myself cry. Not because I was sad, but because I was angry. Angry at him. Angry at myself. Angry at a world that teaches men they have a right to control the women in their lives. Angry at all the ways I had contributed to that, without even realizing it. But anger is not enough. Anger does not fix anything. Action does. And I had taken the first step. I had spoken up. I had stopped protecting him. And now I needed to figure out what came next. I needed to find her. I needed to tell her that I believed her. That I was sorry. That I was ready to help her in whatever way she needed. Because the truth had finally come out. And there was no going back now. It was almost 2 weeks after she left when I finally heard from her. I was sitting in the living room staring at nothing when my phone buzzed. A text from a number I did not recognize. I opened it, and my heart jumped into my throat. It is me. Can we meet? I did not hesitate. I replied immediately. Yes. Where? When? She sent me an address. A small cafe on the other side of town. A place I had never been before. She asked if I could come in an hour. I told her I would be there. And then I sat there staring at that message, feeling a mixture of relief and fear. Relief that she was okay. Fear that she might not trust me. Fear that I might say the wrong thing. Fear that it might be too late to fix what had been broken. But I had to try. I had to show up. I had to be the person she needed me to be. Even if it was terrifying. Even if I did not know what to say. I had to try. I got to the cafe early. I sat at a corner table near the window, and I waited. Every time the door opened, my heart jumped. And then finally I saw her. She walked in slowly. Carefully. Like she was not sure if this was a good idea. She was wearing a coat I had never seen before. Her hair was pulled back. She looked tired. Thinner than I remembered. But she was here. She was alive. And that was all that mattered. She saw me, and for a moment she just stood there. Like she was deciding whether to stay or run. I gave her a small wave. A gentle smile. Trying to show her that it was safe. That I was not here to judge her. That I was here to listen. She walked over and sat down across from me. Neither of us said anything at first. The silence stretched between us, but it was not uncomfortable. It was just heavy. Full of everything that had been left unsaid for so long. Thank you for coming, she said finally. Her voice was soft. Almost fragile. Thank you for reaching out, I said. I have been so worried about you. She looked down at her hands. I did not know if you would want to see me. I did not know if you would believe me. I believe you, I said. And I felt tears prick my eyes. I believe you, and I am so sorry. I am sorry I did not see it sooner. I am sorry I did not ask the right questions. I am sorry I made you feel like you could not come to me. I failed you, and I will have to live with that. But I want you to know that I see it now. I see what he did, and I am not going to look away anymore. Her eyes filled with tears. She pressed her lips together like she was trying to hold it in, but then the dam broke, and she started crying. Quiet sobs that shook her whole body. I reached across the table and took her hand. She squeezed it tight, like she was holding on for dear life. I was so scared, she whispered. I was so scared all the time. I did not know who I was anymore. I did not know if I was crazy. If I was the problem. He made me feel like everything was my fault. Like I was too sensitive. Too dramatic. Too needy. And I started to believe it. I started to think maybe I was broken. Maybe I was the reason the marriage was not working. Maybe if I just tried harder. If I just changed more. If I just became whoever he needed me to be, then everything would be okay. I shook my head. You were not the problem, I said. He was. He is. What he did to you was not okay. It was not love. It was control. And you were not crazy for feeling afraid. You were not dramatic for wanting to leave. You were surviving. And I am so proud of you for getting out. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I did not know where to go, she said. I did not have much money. I left my phone because I knew he was tracking me. I stayed with a friend for a few days, but I did not want to put her in the middle of it. So I've been moving around. Staying in cheap motels. Trying to figure out what to do next. You do not have to figure it out alone, I said. I want to help you. Whatever you need. A place to stay. Money. Support. I am here. I am not going anywhere. She looked at me with so much gratitude it broke my heart. Why, she asked. Why are you helping me? He is your son. I know, I said. And I love him. But love does not mean protecting someone when they are wrong. Love means holding them accountable. Love means choosing what is right over what is comfortable. And what he did to you is wrong. I will not defend that. I will not excuse that. I will not pretend it did not happen. You deserve better. And I am going to make sure you get it. She cried again. But this time it was different. This time it was relief. Like she had been carrying this weight alone for so long, and finally someone was willing to help her carry it. We talked for hours. She told me everything. Every detail I had not known. Every moment of fear. Every time he made her feel small. Every time he twisted her words. Every time he made her question her reality. She told me about the nights she cried herself to sleep. About the times she thought about leaving, but talked herself out of it. About the guilt she felt for even thinking about walking away. About how much she wanted to tell me, but was too afraid of what it would mean. And I listened. I did not interrupt. I did not defend him. I did not try to explain his behavior or justify it. I just listened. Because that was what she needed. She needed someone to hear her, to believe her, to validate her pain. And I was going to be that person. When she was done talking, she looked exhausted. Like she had just run a marathon. But there was also something lighter in her eyes. Like a burden had been lifted. Like she was finally free to tell the truth without fear. What happens now, she asked. What do I do? I thought about it for a moment. Then I said, you do whatever you need to do to feel safe. If that means never seeing him again, then that is what you do. If that means filing for divorce, then I will support you. If that means pressing charges, then I will stand beside you. Whatever you choose, I am with you. You do not owe him anything. You do not owe anyone anything. You only owe yourself a life where you feel safe and respected and free. She nodded slowly. I think I want a divorce, she said. I do not think I can ever go back. Even if he promised to change. Even if he went to therapy. I do not think I could ever trust him again. The damage is done. Then we will make that happen, I said. I will help you find a lawyer. I will help you get your things. I will help you start over. Whatever it takes. She smiled for the first time since she sat down. It was a small smile, but it was real. Thank you, she said. I do not know what I would do without you. You will never have to find out, I said. Because I am not going anywhere. We left the cafe together that day, and I felt something shift. The story was not over. There were still hard conversations ahead. Still difficult decisions to make. Still pain to work through. But for the first time in weeks I felt hope. Hope that she was going to be okay. Hope that I could be part of her healing instead of part of her pain. Hope that even when everything falls apart, you can still find a way to build something better. And I was going to hold on to that hope. For both of us. Months passed after that day in the cafe. Months that were filled with lawyers and paperwork and difficult conversations. Months where my son refused to speak to me. Months where I had to face the reality that my family would never look the same again. And I had to make peace with that. She moved into a small apartment across town. I helped her furnish it. I helped her find a job. I helped her rebuild her life piece by piece. And slowly I watched her come back to herself. The light in her eyes returned. The tension in her shoulders eased. She started to laugh again. Really laugh. The kind of laugh that comes from deep inside and fills a room with warmth. She started therapy. She started reconnecting with old friends. She started doing things just because she wanted to. Not because someone told her she could. Not because she had permission. But because she was free to make her own choices. And watching her reclaim her life was one of the most beautiful things I had ever seen. My son did not take it well. He fought the divorce every step of the way. He tried to paint her as unstable, as vindictive, as someone who was making things up to hurt him. But she had evidence. She had her notebook. She had the messages I had found. She had her testimony. And the truth was stronger than his lies. When the divorce was finalized, he blamed me. He said I had turned against him. That I had chosen a stranger over my own son. That I had destroyed our family. And maybe he was right. Maybe I did choose her. But I do not regret it. Because choosing her meant choosing the truth. And the truth was worth fighting for. I have not spoken to him in months. He calls sometimes, but I do not answer. He sends messages, but I do not respond. Not because I do not love him, but because love without accountability is not love at all. It is enablement. And I will not enable him anymore. If he wants a relationship with me, he needs to take responsibility for what he did. He needs to admit that he was wrong. He needs to get help. And until he is willing to do that, I cannot have him in my life. That is a painful truth to accept. That sometimes the people we love the most are the ones we have to walk away from. That sometimes protecting someone means letting them face the consequences of their actions. That sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say no. I will not participate in this anymore. I will not pretend this is okay. I will not sacrifice someone else's safety for your comfort. But I have learned that you can grieve someone who is still alive. You can mourn the person you thought they were while accepting the person they actually are. You can love someone from a distance and still set boundaries that keep you and others safe. And that is what I am doing. I am grieving the son I thought I had while accepting the man he became. And I am choosing to invest my love in people who deserve it. People who treat others with respect and kindness and empathy. She and I have built something new. A relationship based on honesty and mutual respect. She calls me often. We have coffee together. We go for walks. We talk about everything and nothing. And I am learning who she really is. Not just as my former daughter-in-law, but as a whole person with dreams and fears and hopes. And I am grateful for that. Grateful that she gave me a second chance. Grateful that she let me be part of her healing. One afternoon, we were sitting in her apartment, and she said something that has stayed with me ever since. I do not think I will ever fully trust anyone again, she said. Not the way I trusted him. Not with that kind of blind faith. But maybe that is okay. Maybe trust is not supposed to be blind. Maybe it is supposed to be earned. And re-earned. Every single day. Through actions. Through honesty. Through consistency. Maybe real trust is not about believing someone will never hurt you. It is about believing they will be accountable when they do. I thought about that for a long time. And I realized she was right. Trust is not something you give once and forget about. It is something you build. Something you maintain. Something you protect. And when it is broken, it does not just come back. It has to be rewritten. Rebuilt. And sometimes it can never be what it was before. But that does not mean it is worthless. It just means it is different. More cautious. More aware. More grounded in reality. I think about the warning she gave me that night. Don't trust him. At the time it felt like a betrayal. Like she was asking me to choose between her and my son. But now I understand. She was not asking me to stop loving him. She was asking me to stop being blind. She was asking me to see the truth. Even if the truth was painful. Even if the truth shattered everything I believed. And I am grateful she did. Because that warning changed everything. It opened my eyes. It forced me to stop ignoring what was right in front of me. It made me confront the parts of myself that I did not want to face. The parts that had enabled his behavior. The parts that had prioritized peace over justice. The parts that had failed someone who needed me. I have spent a lot of time thinking about what I could have done differently. What signs I missed. What questions I should have asked. And the truth is I will never know. I will never know if I could have stopped it sooner. If I could have protected her better. If I could have raised my son differently, so that he never became the kind of man who hurts people. But I do know this. I can do better now. I can be better now. I can choose truth over comfort. I can choose accountability over loyalty. I can choose to stand with the people who are being hurt instead of the people doing the hurting. And that is what I am doing. Every single day. I am choosing to be the kind of person who listens. Who believes. Who acts. Who does not look away when things get uncomfortable. Who does not make excuses when someone they love does something wrong. Who understands that real love means holding people accountable, not protecting them from consequences. Some people in my life do not understand. They think I should forgive my son. They think I should try to fix the family. They think I am being too harsh, too unforgiving, too cold. But they do not know the whole story. They do not know what he did. They do not know what she went through. And I do not owe them an explanation. I do not owe anyone an explanation. I only owe myself the truth. And the truth is I did the right thing. Even if it cost me everything. There are still hard days. Days when I miss my son. Days when I wonder if I made the right choice. Days when I wish things had been different. But then I think about her. I think about the way she smiled when she got her first paycheck from her new job. The way she laughed when we watched a movie together. The way she said thank you when I helped her move furniture. The way she told me I saved her life. And I know it was worth it. Every painful conversation. Every sleepless night. Every moment of doubt. It was all worth it. Because she is free now. And that freedom is more valuable than anything else. I have learned that family is not just about blood. It is about who shows up. Who listens. Who believes you. Who fights for you. Who stands beside you when the world feels like it is falling apart. And sometimes the people who do, that are not the ones you expected. Sometimes they are the ones you almost lost. The ones you almost failed. The ones who gave you a second chance, even when you did not deserve it. She gave me that chance. And I will spend the rest of my life proving I was worthy of it. The house is quieter now. Emptier. But it is also more peaceful. There is no tension. No walking on eggshells. No pretending everything is fine when it is not. There is just truth. And truth is not always comfortable. But it is always necessary. I do not know what the future holds. I do not know if my son will ever change. I do not know if we will ever have a relationship again. I do not know if she will ever fully heal from what he put her through. But I do know this. I will keep showing up. I will keep listening. I will keep choosing truth over comfort. I will keep fighting for the people who need someone in their corner. Because that is what love really is. Not blind loyalty. Not protecting people from consequences. Not pretending everything is fine. Real love is messy. It is hard. It requires courage. It requires sacrifice. It requires you to do the right thing, even when the right thing breaks your heart. And my heart is broken. But it is also full. Full of gratitude for the truth. Full of hope for the future. Full of respect for the woman who had the courage to walk away. Full of determination to never look away again. Trust was broken, but something new was built in its place. Something stronger. Something grounded in honesty and respect and accountability. Something that will last because it is built on truth instead of illusion. And that is enough. That is more than enough. That is everything.